We're here at Sports Interactive Europe 2016 with Tom Hines, a senior content manager for Arsenal. So what is your biggest challenge at the moment?
It's quite an opening question. I think from a media point of view, there's a big piece for us around personalisation. We've got a huge global fan base, and we've got fans in the UK, we've got fans in the US, in India, Indonesia, China, and they all respond to the club in slightly different ways. Their experience of the club is slightly different. So as a challenge for us as the media team and the production team to say, okay, how do we treat a UK audience differently to a Chinese audience, to an Indian audience, to an Indonesian audience, and how do we produce genuinely personalised, localised content for those audiences without having to go and hire another 100 international journalists?
Yeah, because how do you do that? Because you can solve it by writing, different content all the way around, or there may be technology solutions to it.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple of levels to it. So I think there are technology solutions out there that help us to automate what we know is some of the regular content. So particularly around the match day flow, we know we're going to be sending out team sheets and halftime scores and final scores and that sort of thing. So if there's a way that we can automate those set pieces in different languages, then fantastic. And then there's a level above that where we're saying, okay, there are cultural differences here. There are differences in how we need to word things. There are certain lines from a manager's press conference that will resonate really well with an audience in Egypt that, as a bunch of journalists in the UK, we wouldn't consider. So, there are technology solutions there, but there's always the human touch and just the knowledge of the culture that is a hugely valuable thing.
And how do you go about that intelligence, the knowledge about those cultures, and do you hire people from the area?
Yeah, I think you have to localize it. You have to find either your individuals there who are kind of the heroes of your brand, who are your huge committed fans in those regions, and start to talk to them and kind of genuinely have those one-to-one conversations. Or you go down the agency route and you find the kind of the specialists in communication. But we tend to do a fair bit of qualitative international research as well, because I think you can only ever get so far with an agency. We need to understand what our fans want from our club and why our fans are engaged with our club and why they love the club, and kind of that has to be the starting point for me.
Now we're here at the Ajax Stadium in Amsterdam, and Ajax is they have a sort of a fan newspaper, and it's pretty critical about the club sometimes. Can you, as Arsenal media, can you be critical about the club as well?
It's a very fine line. When it comes down to it, I think when we talk about the club, and as Arsenal media, if we talk about the club, we're essentially talking about our colleagues, right, and our co-workers, and that's us as a team sitting in that building being critical of our co-workers in a very, very public space. So we have to be very mindful of that. At the same time, we can't sit there and try and whitewash things. I think if and when things are going badly for the team on the pitch, we have to recognise that. We have to recognise that when the fans are upset with us. But how we manage those messages is the kind of the vital part. We have to reflect that fan sentiment and be sympathetic to it, but we wouldn't go into criticising individual players or the manager or the boardroom or anything like that. I think the interesting space for us is how we help to give our fans a platform to voice those things, though. So we've got a couple of pieces of content that we produce each month, which are designed to kind of to give a platform to the fans. So we get some Arsenal bloggers on, we get people who are quite critical of the club, and we'll engage with them, and they'll have those debates between themselves, and that's kind of slightly at arm's length. It's not the club saying that, but we're acknowledging that those conversations are going on.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.